Good day, mates. My name is Mordecai, and welcome back to the show, where an aspiring roleplayer narrates various RPG-related stories as a learning tool. I am speaking through my familiar Aquata for this narration. One of the best parts of tabletop roleplaying is the thrill of teamwork, of players and their characters working together to overcome various obstacles and villains. Regardless of whether the theme of the game is a power fantasy where the characters become really powerful or not, teamwork is an important consideration for the party. However, sometimes you run into a player who wants to be in a permanent position of being the most powerful and most important character at the table. Sometimes this main character does so at the cost of the team. Such a player is commonly referred to as a power gamer, which is more broadly defined as a player who prioritizes making a powerful character, usually at the cost of the actual game. And it is worth considering that some players who create problems at the table are also power gamers. The inverse is not always true. So just what kind of problems does the problematic power gamer in today's narration cause? Let's find out as we embark on another delve. Before we begin with today's story, if you like my content and want to see more, feel free to subscribe and like the video. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. Let's delve into the often terrifying world of r/RPG horror stories. Today's narrative is titled, Problem Player Tries Convincing Me I'm the Problem Player, and is written by user Oi Baguettes. Hey everyone, this is my first time posting here, so if I do something wrong with this, please let me know so I can do better. I don't post to Reddit much, but I'll do my best. This happened recently, and has been on my mind since it all happened. I figured I should type it out and get it out of my head. Sorry in advance for my heated words at parts. I hope my perspective on things doesn't change how you perceive the story. A bit of a warning, this is sorta long. If you want the short version, a problem player gaslights me and tells me everything is my fault. So yeah, title, and here's a quick rundown of the D&D group. The group at the time consisted of 4 players and 1 dungeon master. The Dungeon Master is my stepbrother, and we both spend a lot of time outside of the session talking about the world. I try my best to not metagame, but I know I'm not perfect with that. We play Pathfinder 1st Edition, because we both like the diversity and uniqueness you get from it, along with the min-maxing opportunities for both PCs and NPCs. The party consists of a Magus Mindblade, a Tengu Oracle/Mystery Cultist, my character, a Tiefling Rogue Shadow Dancer, and the problem player playing an Ifrit Oath of Vengeance Paladin. The session originally started with only me and the Magus, and later down the line we introduced 2 more players into the session. The problem player was already showing red flags at the time, talking about how broken he wants his character to be, but the Dungeon Master and I were under the impression that the 2 were a package deal, and we couldn't have the Tengu without the Paladin. We meet and do our first session together, and things already start going horribly wrong. The Dungeon Master allowed the Ifrit to start with a racial item, a bottle of endless smoke. We were in an underground dungeon, and he wanted to use the smoke bottle every opportunity he could get, even at the detriment of other players. In case you didn't know, a bottle of endless smoke releases a 30-foot radius of smoke from the bottle, meaning that each room we entered was just filled with more smoke. The Dungeon Master eventually had to step in and rework the item, allowing him to choose the size of the radius so he wasn't blinding and suffocating other players. But instead, it got worse, and he would use the smoke bottle at its maximum radius of 60 feet whenever possible. We eventually told him to stop using the item altogether. At some point in the dungeon, we kill a gargoyle and find a blood crystal inside. My rogue was incredibly interested in this, and asked the party to allow her to keep it on her. "You take all of the loot. We're holding on to it," says the paladin. For reference, at this time in the party, the rogue was kind of the party treasurer since out of character, I was the only one noting down everything we had found, and I wanted to keep track of everything. In character, my rogue really wanted that blood crystal and didn't trust it being on the paladin, so she decided to pickpocket it off of him. Of course, we have to roll for this. He makes up his perception to be over my sleight of hand, and catches me red-handed. Whatever, I just opted to play along. This becomes an opportunity for the party to tell the rogue that stealing is wrong, and we move on. The paladin, however, wouldn't forget. The paladin also played very lawful stupid, and would dictate where the party went because regardless of what the party was doing, the paladin would detect evil and walk away to where the evil is. Which was rather annoying, since we just wanted to finish investigating a room, please. We didn't want him to outright die, so we had to constantly drop everything to follow his trail of smoke wherever he went. We eventually finish the dungeon, and on our way back to town, we meet a group of paladins who confront my character for acts of arson. The Magus and Rogue, on their adventure before the group joined all together, decide to burn down the local lumberyards to put a halt to the abuse of workers in the town, and also to protect the magical forest from being deforested. Thankfully, no workers were harmed in this act of arson. We eventually fight, and this was supposed to be the moment the paladin officially joins the party, after seeing that these lawful good paladins, despite being good, willingly worked for a man that was lawful evil, and that there are different kinds of evil in this world, more so than just alignment. This didn't work. He used it as a reason for the party to not trust the rogue, and from this point forward, his character would refer to mine as the demon. Yes, my tiefling is actually a lady, and her backstory was that she was enslaved by devils from Mephisto's court, and that she liberated herself by fleeing to the material plane. She didn't take too kindly to the blatant insult, but also being called the one thing she hates more than this lawful stupid paladin was very disrespectful. The paladin finds a holy sword of Ragafal on one of the paladins. The paladin has been complaining that the rogue has been getting all of the loot, and that it's unfair, and that he said that he was going to use his money to make his own uber-broken weapon. The DM wanted this to be a compromise, and for Paladin to not spend all of his money enchanting weapons. But the Paladin took the holy sword and smacked Keen and a few more enchantments on it anyways, much to the Dungeon Master's dismay. The Paladin is from a temple in town that worships Iomade, the goddess of justice and vengeance. The town has been suspicious of the church, claiming that they're up to no good. The Paladin dismisses all of these claims and shows undying loyalty to the church. The Paladin took it upon himself to ask the church questions, and of course, they didn't supply any answers and kept leaving him in the dark. Eventually, the rogue and the oracle took it upon themselves to infiltrate the church and find out what's really going on. They find a diary in the father's room, written in Infernal, which my character is able to read. It talks about how Iomade is actually dead, and has been dead for years, and her following is being used for powers beyond our reach. Trying to be nice, I share this information with the rest of the party. The Paladin, being very unhappy, decided to immediately storm off to the church to seek vengeance. Great story, but the DM tells us that we're about to start a module he wasn't ready for, and is much higher level than us currently. Unfortunately, this doesn't deter the Paladin, and we are forced to follow him so he doesn't kill his character. We go to the church, and find out that the church is actually a cult of Cthulhu. Dun dun dun! Big reveal to the party, and we immediately try to kill the father. The rogue asks if we can bring him outside to publicly execute him, to show the town what we're doing. At the time, we were in good standing with the town, and the Oracle even gave benevolent offerings to the poor folks in his spare time. And the rogue believed that the people would see us and believe that what we're doing is for the greater good, right? Well, the paladin immediately decides to take the father, without consulting the party, dragging him to the center of town for everyone to see, and publicly reveals that he is the leader of the cult before executing him. This unveils that hundreds of people are under Cthulhu's call, as their eyes light up and they begin to eyeball the paladin, ready to make an attack. The rogue and oracle actually die from this encounter, but thanks to a few scrolls of Revivify we claimed off of the paladins we fought earlier, the magus was able to bring us back to life. Due to the nature of the mystery cultist, the oracle was able to temporarily become a demigod for about 5 seconds, which gave everyone enough time to book it the heck out of it. Is this what you guys call a Deus Ex Machina? The only reason we lived that encounter was because of the Magi's quick thinking and his creative use of spells. The paladin, however, blamed the rogue for all of this happening. If you didn't recommend we publicly execute him, we wouldn't have all been killed. Well, maybe if you didn't go running off the moment you had a sense of vengeance, maybe we wouldn't have had to deal with this at all. At this point in the session, we are all really tired of the paladin, and because of him constantly blaming me for everything that goes wrong, I couldn't help but feel like maybe things were genuinely my fault. I pulled the Dungeon Master aside and asked him if I'm doing the right thing or not, and to my gratefulness, he told me that I am doing fine, that I am playing my character in the way he expected me to, and that the paladin is just being a jerk to me and won't own up to his own mistakes. This relieved me, but it also marked the beginning of the end for the paladin. We were tasked by a kobold tribe we recently converted over to being good guys to retrieve a few ingredients for a purification ritual on their crown of the Kobold King, which has been cursed for years. On the list of ingredients was trollhide and troll's blood. After that fiasco of an encounter, the rogue began packing up to go on the quest the Dungeon Master intended for us to do in the first place, and quickly had the party supporting my choices, except for the paladin who wanted to go back to town for some reason. After a lot of bickering, the paladin blaming me for what happened and once again calling the rogue demon, he declares he will only go if he is the team leader. Oh, and don't forget, I'm still not officially a part of the party. He began to lead us, but in reality the rogue knew where we were going and what we needed to do because, once again, she was the only one that writes anything down. We find 2 trolls to fight and start combat. All is going well until the paladin decides to release an area effect of good energy, which damages neutral and evil aligned characters. My rogue is chaotic neutral. Classy, I know, lol. And failed her save, so she was supposed to take damage from his attack. The Dungeon Master retconned the dice fail and let me fully save because he didn't want player versus player action at the table. The table also told him multiple times, "Are you sure you want to do that? You'll cause friendly fire," which didn't stop him. After this session we took a break and the party minus the paladin had a talk about what we should do about him. The party could tell I was getting angry with him and how he treats my character, and the Dungeon Master is getting tired of the paladin being too powerful for the encounters and constantly having to scale things up even at the detriment of the weaker players at the table. There were also some extra things that he had done recently that we went over. He has never healed us, has begged the group for healing multiple times, has constantly bragged about how overpowered his paladin is, and when we told him he's making the game harder for everyone else because the DM has to constantly scale up, he said he doesn't care, and that doesn't affect me. And also, as it turns out, he's a dice fudger. because the Oracle caught him multiple times, and wants to be the one dealing the most damage no matter what. In any case, eventually the day comes, and we address everything to him. He seemed to have taken things well and was listening to us, until the session started. He decided it was a good idea to pull out his phone and play phone games for the rest of the session, only paying attention if it's his turn in combat. And when it was his turn in combat, he asks, "Okay, so what's going on?" He even tried convincing the Magus to join him in his games, to which the Magus thankfully made up an excuse, like his phone was dead or something. For all of my fellow phone game lovers out there, the game was Bloons Tower Defense 6, and he was paying more attention to monkeys shooting balloons than any form of roleplay or combat. The DM told him twice that he needs to put his phone away and pay attention to the table. He didn't listen. Let's just say the Dungeon Master had to kick him from the group. This campaign is still going strong, and the group is almost level 9, one of the furthest campaigns we've gotten through. It sucks that we have lost our tank because it was being played by a problem player, but I'm glad we were able to still have fun. In summary, a problem player blames me for any kind of mishap and was an overall buzzkill. To be honest, if people could tell me what I could have done better in this situation, I'm all ears. I'm still worried that I was the one in the wrong, and the Dungeon Master just picked me over him. Thank you for reading, and please have a wonderful day or night. And that's where the story ends. Well, I will begin the analysis by saying that there really isn't much that could have been done better by the party and the Dungeon Master with regards to the problem player. In addition to being a power gamer and wanting to optimize his powerful character so that it routinely outshone the other party members, the Paladin also had what's commonly referred to as main character syndrome. Main character syndrome is where you have a particular player that wants to be the main character, making all of the awesome plays, and being the one to make all of the decisions, instead of being a team player that works with the party to achieve all of their goals. And perhaps the earliest indication that the problem Paladin was not a team player was their constant usage of the endless smoke bottle at its maximum yield, often to the detriment of the party. There are of course other issues that are a result of the problem player's desire to be the main character, and one of the more prominent issues is the Paladin constantly cheating with his dice, which would have included claiming that a natural 2 was a natural 20 instead, just to name a possible example. Plus, the Paladin also blamed a lot of his actions on the other players, mainly the Tiefling Rogue. I know I didn't read the insult out past the term demon, however the main reason for that was because it was a racial-based insult that was also derogatory towards women, against her, which is absolutely abhorrent. This is in addition to wanting to try and control the plot without consulting the fellow party members and declaring himself the team leader, and instead of having a civil conversation where he actually has a discussion and possibly takes accountability and responsibility for the issues he has caused at the table, both in-game and out-of-game, he instead takes out his phone and starts playing on it for the duration of the last session he was in. The sheer amount of disrespect this player has for the table is mind-boggling. The main consideration that can be taken away from the story is that working as part of a somewhat cohesive team is highly preferable to being the main character in a party. And if you want to be the sole main character, then maybe you should consider being a part of a one-on-one campaign, with just one Dungeon Master and one player. However, I think I myself would find that to be a lot less fun, since a big appeal of tabletop role-playing is the team game, and hanging out with friends and working together to have fun. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed my content and would like to see more, feel free to subscribe and give the video a like. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. Thank you again for watching, and I shall see you all next time.